And of course, we're all on lockdown, so, well, the TV's kind of a good option, really, isn't it? And we do like to dabble in our Freeview movie offerings every now and again, don't we, Bex?
Do you know what? I don't think we appreciate just how much is on offer on the Freeview and small screen in general. Like, lockdown aside, just generally the quality of of film shows that we have, or film shows, actual films that we do have, has always amazed me, because it's great to revisit old films that you haven't seen in a few years. It's something that I think in this fast-paced society we don't think to do enough.
No, it's very true. And you think about when you were younger, you know, like when you were at uni and you had like that selection of like 20 DVDs and you just watched them over and over kind of thing. Yeah. It's always good to go back. I think it's something we miss in our hectic contemporary times. So I'm looking forward to revisiting a few this week. So on Saturday night, 9 p.m, on Channel 4. Now, this is one of my favourite movies of 2009. It was something I expected very little from. I was blown away by it, by how fun it was. And it was, of course, J.J. Abrams' reboot of the Star Trek franchise.
Do you know what? J.J. Abrams does such a great reboot. He's like the king of reboots. Like, you think about what he did with Star Wars as well. Like, he just nails it every time. Now, I have to say, for me, when it comes to Star Trek, I didn't really grow up watching it. Don't really No, it's not really high on my interest list. So when I watched it, I was so pleasantly surprised. It was really fun, really exciting, great cast. Chris Pine is brilliant in the lead, and it just works on so many different levels. So that made me want to watch more of the franchise when it was coming out and actually genuinely be excited about it. So, you know, if you're not a Trekkie, then are we still allowed to call you guys those?
I think they're Trekkers now. I'm not sure anymore. I think Trekkie is the generally preferred thing. But of course, this is, you know, when we say it's a reboot, it's a literal reboot, and it still sort of works as canon as well. So I don't know if you know this about the sort of mythology of this. So what they did was they established a time travel mechanism whereby we are now effectively going to be following a different timeline where there is a younger Kirk and Spock, like Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto, who live out sort of marginally different lives from the Kirk and Spock that we knew, and Picard and everything still happened, but this also happens, it's just in an alternative timeline. And in this timeline, Bruce Greenwood is Captain Pike, and he recruits a plucky, swashbuckling, borderline alcoholic, lovable rogue version of Kirk to join Starfleet.
Enlist in Starfleet.
You guys must be way down on your recruiting quota for the month.
Well, if you're half the man your father was, Jim, Starfleet could use you. You can be an officer in 4 years. You can have your own ship in 8. You understand what the Federation is, don't you? It's important. It's a peacekeeping and humanitarian armada.
We done?
I'm done. Riverside Shipyard. Shuttle for new recruits leaves tomorrow, 0800. Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes. He saved 800 lives, including your mother's and yours. I dare you to do better.
It's swaggering and fun, isn't it?
Yeah, there's swashbuckling in there. I love how you were like, oh, I don't know if you know any of the mythology behind it. Of course I wouldn't know any of that, man. I mean, I just told you I wasn't a fan, but actually this has made me more of it. I mean, I'd definitely go back and watch it again. And, you know, I'd think back to watching like Anton Yelchin in this as well, and you kind of think how sad that side of things are. But,
it's very true, isn't it?
But it's got loads of great young talent in this film, and I think it's well worth a watch. If you haven't visited it before and you want to watch something different and you're not a Trekkie or a Trekker, I'd still say give it a watch. It's on Channel 4, 9 o'clock on Saturday.
What a way to start the weekend. So should we go a bit more family friendly and a bit more Amblin, a bit more 80s Spielberg for our next
Do you know what? I said we've got cuddly things, not just in troll form. And actually Bumblebee on Channel 4, 5:45 p.m. on Sunday is the perfect way to kind of see in Easter Sunday, or see the back end of Easter Sunday, in fact, because actually sitting down with the family, this is a great one. And yes, the Amblin feel to it is amazing, like the 80s references, the nostalgia. If you were a fan like E.T. and stuff like that, you would absolutely love this, and you wouldn't expect it from Transformers.
No, you really wouldn't. So, of course, this is a prequel and a reboot in one. This sees just the character of Bumblebee, hence the clever title, crashing on Earth, rendered mute, and forced to team up with a plucky, young, mechanically inclined girl played by Hailee Steinfeld, a sort of wayward teen, woe is me type. You know, exactly who you get Hailee Steinfeld to play every time. She's brilliant at it. And, of course, they have to go on the run from the US military as led by none other than John Cena.
Get out and move away from the vehicle.
Stay cool, B. What's going on? Hey!
Come on!
Stop it! Let go of me!
Weapons now! Take it down!
Run!
No, don't run! Do not run! She ran.
Bit of Cena there.
Oh, love it. Listen, overall, great movie, really fun to watch, and definitely something that you really can sit down with everyone you're locked in with.
And I think a very surprisingly broad and fun film for the Transformers franchise. It's very, very different from the rest of the sort of Michael Bay series. This is from Travis Knight, who directed Kubo and the Two Strings. So it's got a lot more of that Spielbergian fun, that boy and his dog, albeit a teenage girl and her dog, sort of mentality going for it. And I really loved it.
Yeah, I did too. So let's move on to starting off your new week with a little bit of fun again. This is Kingsman: The Secret Service, Channel 4, 9 p.m. Now, I have to tell you, I watched this twice initially when I first saw it. I've seen it a few more times since. When I first watched it, I absolutely hated it. I thought it was chauvinistic. I didn't think the parody...
Really?
Yeah, I hated it. I didn't think it worked as like a pastiche of Bond or anything like that. And then I watched it in 4DX at the cinema.
Oh, God.
And I absolutely loved it. I thought it was hilarious. So sometimes I think if you've seen this before and you weren't quite sure about it, then Kingsman: The Secret Service is definitely worth a second watch. And if you haven't seen it before, just generally, what are you doing? You've got to go and catch it.
So this is based on the Mark Millar comic book series, The Secret Service. As adapted for the screen, it's the story of Eggsy, the orphaned son of an elite spy who was recruited into an elite secret service that basically poses as the ultimate English gentleman in the most refined form imaginable, but is capable of almost superheroic levels of espionage warfare. Recruited by Colin Firth, he's inducted into the service and, of course, has to go on his first mission. He's played by Taron Egerton, and, well, here's a little snippet for you.
Did you see the film Trading Places?
No.
How about Nikita? Pretty Woman? All right. My point is that the lack of a silver spoon has set you on a certain path, but you needn't stay on it. If you're prepared to adapt and learn, you can transform.
Oh, like in My Fair Lady.
Oh, you're full of surprises. Yes, like My Fair Lady. Only in this case, I'm offering you the opportunity to become a Kingsman.
A tailor.
A Kingsman agent.
Like a spy.
Of sorts. Interested?
You think I've got anything to lose?
I do really like that Pygmalion line, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It's just a brilliant subversion of expectations. Of course, there's so many great casting moments in this, like Mark Strong, like
Yes.
Michael Caine sending up his own image, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it's the debut of Taron Egerton, and he's just gone from strength to strength. We're not going to talk about the sequel to Kingsman because you really shouldn't.
I was going to ask, do you think they showed that in 4D, and what happened during the Glastonbury scene?
Yeah, no. Kingsman.
No, I really love Kingsman.
Yeah, I do too. So that's Kingsman: Secret Service, Channel 4, 9 o'clock on Monday. We are continuing on with all of the things that you can watch on the small screen, and I'm going to take you right back in time now for Tuesday. This is one of my favourite films of all time. You're looking at David Bowie in a completely different light, but this is Labyrinth on the Sony channel, 2:30 p.m. You know, this is the, like, lots of people talk about like The Princess Bride as the movie that kind of made them as a kid. This is the movie that made me. This is the one. This is the film that I absolutely fell in love with. The goblins, the labyrinth, the Goblin King. I mean, it's...
You just are the quintessential woman of a certain age, aren't you?
I know,
You're the
I really
quintessential millennial woman.
I really am. I mean, I'm just such a cliche, but do you know what? I have to say, I'm not apologetic for it at all, because if you haven't seen Labyrinth, were you even a child of the 80s? And if you weren't born in the 80s, you should be a child of the 80s in spirit, and you should go and watch
To be fair, to most men my age, their sort of first crush was Jennifer Connelly in Labyrinth.
Oh my God, she was gorgeous. Yeah.
She was. She still is gorgeous to this day. She's in Snowpiercer next. But this is, of course, the adventures of a young girl going into is it the Goblin Kingdom to rescue her
little baby brother.
Baby brother. And from, of course, there's none other than David Bowie as the Goblin King. Let's have a listen to his introduction.
You're him, aren't you? You're the Goblin King. I want my brother back, please, if it's all the same.
What's said is said.
But I didn't mean it.
Oh, you didn't?
Please, where is he?
You know very well where he is.
Please bring him back, please.
Sarah, go back to your room. Play with your toys and your costumes. Forget about the baby.
I can't.
I've brought you a gift.
What is it?
It's a crystal. Nothing more. But if you turn it this way, look into it, it'll show you your dreams.
All I can say about David Bowie is you're going to want to sing along to the songs with this, and you might even find that you find him incredibly attractive as the Goblin King. I'm saying no more of this.
It's like I say that, like, for all men, like Jennifer Connelly in this movie is like the first crush. I think for so many young girls as well, there is a weird thing with David Bowie.
There is such a weird thing. It's just, it's how he handles his crystal balls is all I'm going to say.
And oh my God, the crotch on those leather pants, man, that's very distracting.
That's taking it too far, Van Connor. Right, let's move on swiftly from that before we get too deep into that kind of labyrinth.
So that's 2:30. There's 2:30 on Tuesday on Sony.
Yeah,
Sony movies. That's like a proper afternoon film as well.
Absolutely, but to be fair, I've got it saved on my video on demand anyway, so I'm just going to capture there. Wednesday, we've got Cabin in the Woods, film for 11:15 p.m. This is a really fun kind of horror slasher kind of movie. I really enjoyed this, and I think
it's a satire as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got. Correct me if I'm wrong. Chris Hemsworth is in this. Sort of early days for him. He's kind of a jock character in it, as if my memory serves me correct. I remember
he's the quintessential jock character, complete with a Letterman jacket.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember watching it and thinking, oh God, what am I going to watch? Another teen horror movie. And actually, it was much more intelligent than I thought it was going to be.
So it's a very satirical. So I think Joss Whedon has a hand in the writing of it. It's one of two films in a row this week that we're going to talk about involving Joss Whedon. He has a hand in the writing of it. It's a very satirical, very knowing look at the conventions of, the Cabin in the Woods format. I mean, the Cabin in the Woods, I think, was at one point the original title for Evil Dead. So even that in itself is sort of rooted in what makes this sort of ins and outs of this genre, flow back and forth. It's literally every convention of these movies thrown into one. So in no place is that more evident than our clip.
Truth or dare?
Dana.
Truth.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, I'm just skipping ahead. But you're gonna say dare, she's gonna dare you to do something you don't like, and then you'll say that you wanted truth all along.
Really? Okay, Jules. There.
What the hell was that?
It's the cellar door.
The wind must have blown it open.
That makes what kind of sense?
What do you think's down there?
Why don't we find out?
Dana. I dare you.
So it's literally the trap door that mysteriously blows open that the young kids, and I don't want to say more than that because if you've not seen it, it will blow you away. And obviously, and also, it's got Bradley Whitford in it and Richard Jenkins. They're awesome.
He's got a really great cast. It's a lot of good fun. It's one of those ones which, like I said before, you think it's going to be a trashy horror. It's so much more than that, and it surprises you around every corner. And I think if you like a good horror, and actually, if you're isolating with your other half at the moment and they're a bit squeamish, it's a really fun thing to kind of just take them to watch because
it's quite light-hearted as well. It's quite funny.
Yeah, I think you'll both enjoy it. So that is Cabin in the Woods, film for 11:15 p.m. on Wednesday. So if you are finding yourself staying up quite late, it's a good option for you to kind of have a little scare fest with. Now, Thursday, Horror Channel, 10:55 p.m. We've got a movie that Van has been raving about and says he could talk for 8 hours on. I'm not going to let you talk for hours. Maybe a minute. Give me what it is.
Maybe a minute. Okay, so Serenity is a 2005 film written and directed by Joss Whedon, his feature film debut. He would, I think his follow-up to this would have been none other than The Avengers. So this is the continuing adventures of a cancelled TV show. So think Wrath of Khan here, where you just adapt a TV show years later. This is the continuing adventures of the Firefly TV show, here encapsulated as what ultimately becomes a better Han Solo movie than the movie Solo, a Star Wars story. So it's effectively Han Solo and his crew of wayward smuggler types. This is a feature film offering that sort of ends their story, but also works as a sort of standalone tale as well, in which one of their crew is being hunted as a fugitive by the Imperial government, and they must protect her at all costs. I'll say no more, but I will give you an inspirational moment from Nathan Fillion.
As sure as I know anything, I know this. They will try again. Maybe on another world, maybe on this very ground swept clean. A year from now, 10, they'll swing back to the belief that they can make people better. And I do not hold to that. So no more running. I aim to misbehave.
I'm feeling inspired.
I love that movie so much. He's so kick-ass in it. It's one of my favourite movies of all time. I literally have it tattooed on my body. I love Serenity that much.
Wow.
Absolutely check it out. I think Empire called it this generation's Highlander. I absolutely agree with that, but I think it's even better than Highlander.
Ooh, I'm going to check it out. I loved Highlander. Right, okay, let's move on to our final pick of the week. We have American Pie, The Wedding, ITV2, 9 p.m. Now, I just want to be clear with this. This has still got the original cast in it. This isn't one of the weird spin-offs that really bombed, is it?
No, this is canon. This is prime timeline. This is Jim Stifler, Finch, that generation.
Yeah.
This is, of course, the third outing for this was originally the trilogy closer. They would bring it back years later for a fourth outing with American Union. But this is the trilogy closer in which Jim and former Bandcamp geek Michelle finally tie the knot. And, of course, how do you have a wedding when you're friends with none other than Steve Stifler?
Oh, boys, anybody seen the bride's parents? No?
Wait a second. Wait a second. This isn't a graduation party. Wait, hold on. Jim's getting married, isn't he? Holy this is major. Do you have the slightest idea of how important this is? We get to have a bachelor party. Yes, we celebrate the death of Jim with a party in his honor. Buckle up, fellas, show some enthusiasm. It's gonna be great. Oh my God!
Chaos ensues. So, I mean, look, I love it. Again, a seminal film for anyone of our age, Van, am I right? Like, the American Pie franchise.
Absolutely. I mean, you couldn't make that movie now, but it's still a classic for people our age. Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. It was the thing that kind of was so outrageous that everyone was talking and went viral in its own respect. And it was just like, do you know what? Like, I'm never going to look at an apple pie in the same way. There's so many different elements of it. I would like to say that it spawned a load of really like A-list stars. Didn't quite work that way for them, but you know what, from our point of view, it made a really great teen movie.